All right, everyone. It is now the Week 7 recap video. So, why don't we just get right into it? I believe this is the least scoring matchup. Uh, I believe Mosen with 161 a couple of weeks ago would have outscored his team this week and also Mang's team combined. So, uh, so Mosen kind of screwed up. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I've made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But if he started Blunt over Gillisley or Jones and started Crabtree over Marvin Jones, which would have been kind of a reach, he would have won. The Michael Crabtree one, I don't blame him as much for, but the Blount one, I don't see how you could start over. I don't see how you could start Gillisley over Blount, especially since McCoy was slated to play, I believe, Saturday night. So everyone knew McCoy was going to play, even though he got hurt midway through. Uh, you know, whatever. He also was hurt by Zeke being on a bye, so that's basically the best, probably the second best player in fantasy football, I would say, other than David Johnson. Um, let's go to Mang's team, where Mang has basically been putting together a stellar season considering all the injuries he's gone through. He's starting people like not Ben Wallace, Mike Wallace, Travis Benjamin, Giovanni Bernard, Vernon Davis, Matt Asiata. And he got that team to score 93 points. So respect for that. He's lost Adrian Peterson. He's lost Doug Martin. Alshon Jeffrey's been a bust. Jonathan Stewart was on a bye. Jordan Reed was hurt. This guy has gone through the most adversity by far in this league, and he's 4-3. So respect to that. That's a good job of just straight up research. That's a good example of research right there. Um, why don't we go to George and Yates? Tough break for Yates this year. Antonio Brown and Odell have just not lived up to their draft stock, I would say. I mean, Brown, he gets you 12, 4, 13. Look, that's not terrible, but you need him to do more as the number one pick in the draft. And especially since this is not PPR, you really are leaning on him to score touchdowns and get a good amount of yards, and it's just not happened. And then the Odell trade, essentially, other than the 32-point outburst, Odell has just been disappointing. J.J. has turned into literally O.J. Simpson, other than the good thing he's not killing people, but he's literally turned into a goat. Jordan Howard might have lost his starting position. It's funny. If Yates just forgot to start defense this week, he would have won. I mean, -5 from the Bills defense. That's just bad luck. George, the highest scoring team in the league, finally catches a break. Scores 85 and still wins. Good for him. 2 points combined out of his wide receivers. He's got a good running back core. He benched Hill, which I would have done too. Benched Ingram, surprisingly. He scored 12 points. I mean, the Kansas City defense is tough. I'm just surprised he actually benched him. And Terrence West. Jets defense looked really good against. Jets defense is always good against the run, so. Now we're going to the third least scoring matchup of the week, which would be me and Amon, which this matchup was very interesting, I would say. Going into last night, my team basically waits until last night to win games. I think this is like 4 weeks in a row where I was depending on the Monday night game or maybe the Sunday night game. I needed 12 1.1 points out of Lamar Miller and Lamar Miller and my kicker, McManus. And Lamar Miller, I was on track to do this. Like, Miller was looking good. He was getting, like, if you look at he had 11 carries for 61 yards. That's 6 yards per carry. He was looking good. But he got hurt during the game. He hurt his shoulder, and it was weird. He wasn't completely taken out of the game. He was still trying to play, so he was still getting some carries, but not a lot. The backup was getting some carries as well. And then McManus, and most interesting, I was up, I would say 0.4 points. That's right, I was up 0.4 points. In the last 2 minutes of the game, or last 3 minutes of the game, and McManus comes on to kick a field goal. And by that point, I already won, so I didn't want him to kick this field goal. And if he missed, he gets a -1, and I lose. And it's like a 30-yard field goal, but you saw in the Sunday night game that, like, those are much harder than they apparently are. And he makes it, but still, I was getting a little nervous there. I won, and if he missed it or he gets blocked or something, I would have lost. Monteam, he finally starts paying attention this week, and he actually has a decent team when AJ Green and he has Gronkowski. He just needs a couple of running backs. He's also had bad luck too. Hyde was hurt. His second running back probably taken was Jeremy Langford. He's been hurt for a considerable amount of time. Let me check the time. 7 minutes. All right. Let's just go to this game. I can't really do the math. Dre, the highest scoring team of the week by far, really. Good game out of everybody. Melvin Gordon doesn't get many yards, but he gets a lot of touchdowns. Fantasy experts, or not, I guess you call them experts. People that are really into fantasy. People I follow, they are extremely frustrated by Melvin Gordon's success because they say he's not that good of a player. However, he just gets lucky getting these touchdowns. I'm not willing to go as far as that to say that. He's a good player. I think he's a good player, but it's obviously been helped by getting a lot of 1-yard carries. And, Melvin Gordon is the third-ranked running back. So say whatever you want. I traded him for Lamar Miller, and Lamar Miller has been good for me. But, I mean, Melvin Gordon has obviously been a little bit better. It's that simple. C.J. Anderson finally came back and had a good game for him. Giants defense had 20. Freeman, and then his kicker got him 17 points. Let's see. SN's team drops to 5-2. He could afford a loss. David Johnson still had 17 points in that game where no one scored a touchdown. David Johnson still scores 17 points. Like, this guy is the fantasy MVP by far. Brandon Marshall has not done well. I mean, SN might be in a little bit of trouble. I'm not trying to say like he's in trouble, but if Marshall can't play up to his ability and then Johnson starts to cool down just a little bit, he might not be in the best position. We'll see. I'm just nitpicking there. Then we're between the defending champ Raheel and then AK's team. I guess you could say one of the closer, highest scoring games of the week. Like I said, if Denver does well, AK does well. Actually, no, so the Denver defense scored 10. Demarius had 10, and Emmanuel Sanders had 8. Good game by Denver. Gurley, 9 points. He at least gets you 9 points a week. Crowell came back, and then Andrew Luck has been very solid since the first 2 weeks. Or I guess he's good. Except, I guess he scored 35 the first week. So, yes, ever since the second and third week, I would say he's been pretty much lights out. Gunn had 100 points. That's good. Oh, that's that would have beat most teams this week. He just had bad luck this week. Hilton had nights. Hilton's been a very good draft by pickup from him, and I believe he's on his team last year. So Hilton, and then Gore, 14 points, just solid. Bell came back. Brady, 17. He just kind of got screwed over. I guess you could say screwed over. He still had 100, but tight end only had him 4. Flex. McKinnon, I believe, got hurt during that game. Seahawks defense got a 9 in the tie, and then Gostkowski had 3. Gostkowski has actually been kind of shaky this year. He's missed extra points, and he's missed some field goals. Very shaky. So I believe we're running behind, so I'm just going to get right into next week's matchups. Me versus Gunn. I believe Bell's on a bye that week, so I'm catching a break there. Mang versus Yates. AK versus George. Dre versus Mosen. That's a good matchup. And SN versus Amon. So SN catches a break. Even though Amon's team can put up a good 85 to 90 points, which could be enough to beat some teams. Let's quickly look at the standings. I made the determination. I will make the projected playoff matchups next week. I still believe it's a little bit early to be looking at that, but I think next week I'm going to start looking at it. So we have me first, SN second, Mosen third, Dre fourth, AK fifth, and then Mang sixth. So George, the leading scoring team in the league, is still on the outside looking in. I believe, let me just take a quick look again. He gets the opportunity to get into the playoffs by playing AK's team. So we'll see. That's a very important matchup. These matchups are starting to get really important now for playoff purposes. You basically have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams within that are 4-3 or 3-4. So the thing I am most happy about, so let me check the time. The thing I am most happy about, I think I've mentioned this before, in this league so far, is the absolute parity. So every team has a chance. I will even go as far to say as Yates is still 2 games back. He still might have a chance to really get into playoffs. And watch out, if his team makes the playoffs with Odell and Antonio Brown, watch out. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you get your waiver claims in. Have a good week.